Hello people, today I have with us the RX-9/C Narrative Gundam C-Packs. And this is from the movie. I think it was a movie, maybe a short series, but it was a Mobile Suit Gundam narrative. And it was a very intriguing story about... I couldn't actually tell you what it was about, but it was interesting nonetheless. Got to see a lot of old stuff come back. Now this one does have quite a lot of write-ups, so I'm going to read at least one of them, and that is about the Gundam specifically and what it is. So let me do that. The RX-9 Narrative Gundam was deployed in the Phoenix Hunt operation in two optional armaments. The High Mobility A-Packs and B-Packs with wire-guided assault units were prepared for it. The MS confronted the RX-0 Gundam 03 Phoenix with each of the armaments in combat, but failed to capture it, and both armaments were destroyed in the process. After the battle at Metis, the operation was suspended, and it was decided that the Narrative Gundam was to be released from the Damascus. I don't know what that means, I don't remember. This was when the C-Packs was attached to the MS. Although no plans originally existed for the MS to have that, resulting in minimal conversions that were hastily applied to the MS. Therefore, it can not be denied that the MS had become a distorted MS with an unusual origin. However, the MS did achieve its concept to have an increased amount of psychoframe, proving the high extensibility of the Narrative Gundam. On the other hand, this configuration of the MS, also called the Psycho Package, and the psychoframe used to create it, was independently collected by Luyo and Co. Clad in forbidden psychoframes, the Narrative Gundam headed to its final battle at the Helium-3 storage base. So I'll go ahead and read a couple other of the write-ups. The beam rifle here is a hastily put together using the RGM-89 Jagan's beam rifle, which has sights on top of the action and adopts a vertical E-Pack, as you can see, really long E-Pack there. The Psychoframe says the MS is equipped with Psychoframe armor on the shoulder, chest, and other various sections. It has a unique appearance resembling the destroy mode of the RX-0 series. However, it was attached to the MS with minimal conversions, resulting in a distorted presence. Beam Saber. The Beam Saber rack was equipped on the waist for the A-Packs, but was attached to the back of the C-Packs, just like the other Gundam type MS. And for the shield, Psychoframes were also applied to the front and back of the shield. A beam cannon and missiles are attached on the back. The shield can also be equipped on the backpack. So yeah, this guy is totally different than anything I've built before as far as Gundams go. The interesting application of the Psychoframe stuff is, like I said, very interesting. I actually put the legs on backwards. I don't know if anyone notices that or if they cared. But when I posted this on my Discord server that I'm on, nobody mentioned it. So the legs are actually supposed to be, the inner thighs are red and the outer are the gray. But in any case, it looks okay. I could swap them out at any moment and it would be fine. I actually happen to think it looks better this way because, you know, you can see that red on the outside there. I think it gives it more of a flair. The gray on the inside makes more sense to me anyway. With that said, I can go ahead and cover up the articulation on this guy. And I will show you that in just a second here. So let's go ahead and get him ready. There is a really cool articulation point at the neck. The solid piece there, it's not a polycap, goes inside the neck. It goes inside the frame of the chest here very simply and easily, but it does afford a very solid feeling connection to go up and down there, and then you have the ball at the top that moves, of course, as it normally would here. You have a really nice section on the inside of the chest here for the arms, so you can actually pull most of this out and kind of expand it so that you can get quite a lot of range of motion there. That is a pretty cool one. The arm, of course, is on a ball joint here on that polycap inside the chest section here. The shoulder is a polycap inside that round section, which is two sandwich pieces in there, so you can move it up and down like you would anywhere else, and then rotate it there at the axis there. The elbow is a nice hinge joint, which actually looks very cool, I think. It's very exposed. It looks like it has a inner frame, but that is because this one doesn't have armor in those sections. So you're going to have that really cool look of the armor coming through, or the frame coming through the rest of the hinge. Pretty cool there. And then you have the ball joint slammed into this port right here. There's no poly cap there, so it just slides right in just as you normally do that. So that's the arm there. The chest is fascinating. It goes up inside there. I forget exactly how, but there is some articulation in there where you have, so it's like a joint there, and then you have the peg in here, and that slides on in there to give you some of that up and down crunch motion. Here is a ball joint underneath that goes up from the waist, it goes up from the hips into the waist, so you get that normal motion that you would get on most Gundams nowadays. You get a splittable front skirt, but I did not split that. You get a poly-capped side skirting that you can flip up and down, but beware that it does flip up and slides right out very easily because of the armor and how chunky it is. Not bad, but not great. Put that back in there. Now, as I mentioned there, I actually put these legs on backwards, but they still have the full range of motion inside there. You have that nice hip that plugs into a drop-downable inner T. Let's move these up, and I will show you that. So you can move that up or down. As of right now, it's down. With it up, you do lose a little bit of the range of motion, but it's not terrible. You don't actually get too much out of this one. There are some that have been better. Let's go ahead and swap these both around so it can be proper. So this is the way it's supposed to be. You just turn that right around, which leads me to that. There's a peg that's inside this leg section that you can rotate 360 degrees, of course. That's pretty normal for these newer high grades. And the poly cap inside this section is what allows you to raise it up and down. So you are limited by it, but not by much. The knee is double jointed like they normally do. You can get quite a lot out of that. This section is jointed, but I'm not entirely sure why. Mostly I think it was for assembly, because you did have to put some of these parts in without this in the way. And these are sandwiched together between these, so it would be necessary for that to be there. This is actually articulated, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why that would be articulated. It isn't exactly a large piece of armor, but it would be enough to get something out of the way of those delicate joints in there. The feet, you have a poly cap up in here that allows this to rock back and forth. And then that is attached to a ball joint at the end and poly capped into the foot. So you get that nice rotating motion in the foot there. And so this one's going to go back in here. With the strange frame armor, the psycho frame in the inside now, the way it was meant to be. Get that back in place. So yeah, that frame there, that skirting armor there is pretty delicate, as you can tell. Wants to come off pretty easily. There he is with his legs back. And we'll put his frame back on. His frame, I keep saying frame, his skirting armor back. You do have an articulation point here, of course, with a peg on that shield. And that does slide around quite easily. And then this comes off. Oop. Let's see. There you go. Let's take off part of his armor too. There you go. Nice and easily. Just like that. Now they mentioned attaching it to the back. I'm not entirely sure why you would want to do that, but it can fit there. There's a little tab here and a hole there. And you can either put it that way, but I think you're supposed to put it this way. There you go. And there is a beam cannon in the shield there and those rockets that it was talking about, but they aren't filled in, which is odd. So you'd have to fill those in before you painted them. Interestingly, they actually show them painted here. If you look closely, and of course my phone doesn't want to focus on it properly because it's so close, they do have those divots in there. So they didn't fill them in when they painted the back of that shield. It wouldn't be terribly hard to do because most of that is going to be gray. It's just those rockets and the beam cannon that are different colored. For a quick size comparison, here he is next to the Gundam base Gundam from Build Divers. You can see the Grandpa Gundam being a little bit taller than normally, is still shorter than this guy. So he is tall as the unicorn is tall. Not terribly oversized like the Penelope or the Sea Gundam, but still quite a large one. Probably not quite to the height of a new Gundam. Now, I happen to have heard a rumor that we might be getting a real grade version of this. I don't buy into that, but I could see them doing a master grade on this one. It is a really cool looking unit. It's very odd. It's very strange. And they do like to do the odd and strange for real grade. So I think that would be a nice candidate for it. Besides that, we really do need some more master grades coming out. That's been something they've been slacking on pretty hard. I'm not complaining because I don't buy too many master grades, but this is one that I would buy a master grade of. I really would. With that said, though, would I recommend you buying this one? If you like the Narrative Gundam, it is an interesting looking suit. I think because of the way it's designed, a lot of the clear parts don't really shine as much as you'd like them to, and I couldn't paint the back sides of those to get a nice reflective look because of how they're placed. They're kind of offset off of the armor, like this one here. You can see my finger through it, so it's not perfect there. So painting is going to be a pain. I have a couple of ideas on how I can make a nice effect. Because the new type, the NTD mode, is really shiny and sparkly. I'm probably just going to use glitter though. The other thing I was thinking of doing is using a mirror paint and painting the back sides of all of them and then putting them on. Hopefully that could work. We'll see how that happens if I do ever get along to it. I don't plan on painting this one. It looks good enough for me, and I'm not really a fan of the series. I just liked the way this one looked enough to buy it. Oh, and I didn't forget to mention some of the things that it did include. It has a hand here, a regular holding punching hand, and it has 2 of your beam sabers so that you can use these, which do detach. I didn't show that, but they do come right out of here if I can do that proper. They are tighter than I thought they were. But yeah, you just plug those right in as you normally would, and then you have a beam saber for your guy. It also includes a large assortment from, I think, what is the Apex. So you have a lot of the closed up armor versions, and so you don't have to have that really odd Psycho Friend stuff on there. So none of the red that's on there would be on there. Everything would look more closed up. It would look vastly different than what it does now. That said, there would be pieces missing if you tried to convert them from the A packs to the C packs without the actual kit that it belongs to. So with that said, I will go ahead and let you guys go. That is my review for the Narrative Gundam C packs. It's an interesting and odd Gundam. Very different than what you would normally see. It was a very fun and creative build. You could tell that they really went out of their way to give some interesting engineering on it to make these exposed frames work. I would recommend it if you were a fan of it. With me, how I am right now, I'm kind of ambivalent. I don't regret buying it. It is odd enough that, you know, it's something different, and you know how I like different things. But it isn't something so standout that it's a must. So don't buy it if you're looking for amazing, astounding, brand new. It's still a Gundam, and it isn't really a pretty one, you know? It's very odd looking. But with that in mind, I think it's definitely something that you could try out if you are a fan of Gundam in general. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you guys next time, or you'll see me, but more than likely you'll see my stuff. Bye-bye.